Okay, for setup 3, we're going to face side 4, which is the opposite of face 2. We're going to square side 5, which is opposite of side 3, which is down here. And we're going to chamfer the side 1 edge, which is the side 1 edge is going to be here. Okay, for the setup of this program, it's the same setup as setup 2, except we're going to rotate the part 180 degrees about a center line that passes through the center of face 1. Face 1 has to stay against the fixed jaw, and we're just going to rotate it. So side 3 is underneath, side 2 is underneath, and then side 3 is over here. So we're just going to flip it over. So side 2 is resting on the parallels. And now side 3 is, side 2, no, side 3. So side 3 is what we're going to offset. So this is side 3 right here. All right. So since the setup is identical to setup 2, just different faces exposed, we're going to be able to use the same program with some edits. So we're going to do that. We're going to duplicate the existing program, and then we have to make some tweaks. So we have to make some adjustments to the facing program, because the part is now, instead of a 1/2 inch thick, it's 0.490, because we took off roughly 1/1000 or 10,000ths in the last operation. And we also, in squaring face 3, side 3, we took off 10,000ths. So we're going to have to compensate for that in our program after we duplicate it. The other thing we've got to do is we're going to cut the chamfer along this face 1 edge, which is right along here. So we're going to walk through and do that. So as we return to the Haas control, we can see we've got our second program up, Lab 1 Setup 2, which we are going to duplicate. To duplicate a program, you need to go to List Program. You want to highlight the program that you want to duplicate, and then we're going to hit F3 for File. So I hit F3, and I have an option that says Duplicate Program. So I want to select that. I'm going to hit Enter, and it's going to ask for a new O number, which we're going to give it, for my case, 488003. And the comment is going to be Lab 1 Setup 3. And it duplicated it. So now I can highlight it, and then I'm going to hit List Program. Oh, it's already loaded. It loaded it. Okay, so go to Edit. So now I have to go through and edit it. The original one was Lab 1 Setup 2, so I'm going to delete that. And now instead of side 2, we are facing side 4. Alter. Everything stays the same except for our Z depth, which is here. So now we're already 10,000ths under but that lined up with Z0, so now this Z should be minus 10 thousandths. And I should have hit an alter, but I forgot, so I just hit delete. And there's another way we can change it. I'm going to show you. Now we are going to square side 3, which is now side 5. Now we need to change our X in 2 locations. So let me show you a quick way to do that. So if I hit F1, it takes me to memory, and I'm going to go over to search, find and replace text. And then I hit enter. Well, I found the text that I want, so I just type it, X 4.428. And what I want to replace that with is that minus 10 thousandths. So it's going to be X 4.4180. And you see the options, find, replace. So if I hit F2, it's going to replace this instance. It says I have to search, so let's search first. So let's do F1. It found that one. Then I can do F2. And then I want to search again. And it's not found below, so what I have to do is I'm going to have to exit this and come back out. So I hit cancel. Oh, no, I don't hit cancel. I go backwards. And then F1. And there it is, and then I F2 replace. And now I've changed it in 2 spots. I've changed it there and there. And now I want to save it before I forget. So I hit memory. And then come back to edit. So I've changed the Z, I've changed the X, everything else can, for the second operation, can pretty much remain the same, except that I need to do another straight cut to cut the chamfer. So next step is going to be to chamfer the edge. So as I'm looking at the part, the way it's fixtured, we're going to face the edge that interfaces side 4 and side 1. So that top edge we're going to chamfer. The opposite edge here, face 6, has not been finished yet, so we can only chamfer this side. So this will then become the bottom back of the soft jaw. So from the Haas control, I want to move down, and after I do my 0 return, I do want to do the Z0 return, but you know, I really don't want to do this yet. So I'm going to save that. So I'm going to come up to here, and we're going to put an end to block. And that's going to end that section. So then I'm going to put in another comment, and I'm going to say, oh, chamfer edge. End of block. All right, then I'm going to go to VPS, and I'm going to enter my chamfer. So I go to page up, and actually if you go home, you'll go all the way to the top, and then I have to go over to VPS. I'm going to come down to VPS, and this is another straight milling. And I'm still using 57, doesn't change. This time I'm not using tool 1. I'm going to be using the chamfer tool. So that is T9. So I'm going to enter 9 here. That's tool 9. Now for the spindle speed for the chamfer, we're going to use, because it's going to be small and we only have a 6,000 RPM spindle, we know that we're going to make the spindle speed 6,000 RPM. Now for the feed rate of a chamfer tool, it's a 45-degree chamfer. Therefore, your sine and cosine of a 45-degree chamfer are the same. So however far you go down is how far you're going to go over. And then your diameter is twice that. So we're going to cut a 1 millimeter chamfer. So it's 0.04 for 40 thousandths. 40 thousandths is basically a millimeter. So that's going to make our diameter 80 thousandths. So now what we have to figure out is our feed per tooth and our feed rate. So there is a calculator on the Haas control. So I can go to current commands, and I'm going to go page up. And when you first come in here, you've got different tabs. And if you come over to the calculator tab, and then you come down to milling, you'll get the milling calculator. So there's a standard calculator as well, and there's a tapping calculator. So let's look at the milling calculator, and I already have some numbers punched in. So the cutting diameter is 80 thousandths because I want to create a 40 thousandths chamfer. Surface speed is relative to the RPMs. So I know I want 6,000 RPMs, which then comes out to 125 feet per minute, which is really slow because we could probably run this as fast as 600, 5, maybe even 1,000 feet per minute. So this is really slow, but we're limited by the RPMs on the spindle, which is 6,000. So we'll run it at 6,000. It is a 2-flute chamfer mill. Now, the driving influence as to what the feed rate's going to be is based on this chip load. So I called up the Haas information, the tooling supplier. Haas is this tooling supplier for this chamfer mill. And it recommended roughly around this much for inch load per tooth because it's a very small cut. So that means that my feed rate is going to be 8.4. So if I come down to 8.4, that's what my feed rate is, and that's what I was looking at. So you can move that to the input line by there's a number of methods, but if I place alter, it shows up down if I hit alter, it shows up down at the input line. And then I can go back to memory, and then I can hit enter, and it appears in there. Feed plane of 0.1 is fine. Z depth is going to be minus 0.04. Yes, I want coolant. My X value is going to be, switch over to the drawing for a minute. So I can actually come down right at the PRZ because the workpiece is off. So I can come down at Z0, and then I'm going to go right along this edge up past the part. So we were at 4.418. So if I go to 4.5, I will clear the part. So those are the values I'm going to use. So X1 is going to be 0. Y1 is going to be 0. X2 is going to be 4. Well, we'll just go to 4.5. Y2 is still going to be 0. So I have all the information I need. So I'm going to hit F4 to generate the code. I'm going to insert it to the clipboard. I'm now back in my program. I'm going to go to the end, and I'm going to place it up here because I want to enter it there, and I hit F4. And I hit enter the information that I need for the chamfer mill. And I'm going to do memory. I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to highlight this. So number one, I can delete the M01, so let's delete that. And then I want to copy that. Or I actually want to cut it and move it down below. So I want to cut that line, so I simply highlight it. And then I have to do an F2 because it tells me right here I need the F2 to select. So I do F2 and enter. And then I move to where I want to paste it. And I go to F1 menu, and I want to cut selection to clipboard. I hit enter. And then I place my cursor where I want it. F1, paste from clipboard, and I move the line. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to end on this M30. I'm going to save it before and then I'm going to alter this. So I'm going to say end setup 3. Memory, edit, and I have completed the program for setup 3. And of course, I can graph it. And if I F2, page down, enter, to apply zoom, cycle start, and there are my cuts.